Hello and welcome to our Westworld post-show analysis here on Games Radar, where each week, straight after the episode airs, we'll be talking about the biggest question that's been left unanswered in the show. This week, we're looking at episode 3, and the question is, why did Dolores kill all the Confederados?
So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I can't work out whether it's going to be one of the show's big mysteries or just whether it was quite poorly explained. But the bit we're talking about is when the security teams are attacking the fort, which, by the way, they'd never attack it like that. They all gather at the front and trap all the Confederados, and Dolores has her men shoot the Confederados and kills them all, and then blows up the security forces.
Yeah.
So it's a bit strange. And she says, what was the line? Not everyone's worthy to go into the next life, or something like that.
Yeah.
Meaning that they're not self-aware, they haven't woken up, and they're just boys. They're constantly referred to as just boys.
Children, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense to me. Like that, not all of the hosts are self-aware yet. And, you know, you could argue that she's helping them by killing them, because we know that the more the hosts die and have new lives, the easier it becomes for them to remember those past lives and eventually work out what's going on. But it's not just that. Like, that's not the only reason she's killed them. She's not rocked up and gone, I'm going to do you all a massive favour and kill you and bring you back. It's part of her plan. I'm just not convinced it was necessary in that moment to defeat the forces that were coming at them. So
it seems very strange.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a finite number of security forces, because eventually they'll just send more people in, and that'll be that. So, I mean, you could be right. It's a very, very long game if she's killing them off to slowly awaken them, but they must have to die so many more times.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe there's something in the resurrection process now whereby they're brought back to life and they're instantly self-aware, or they're instantly on Dolores' side. Her herself, actually, you know, she got shot several times and it didn't seem to bother her, did it?
Yeah. At first I thought it was because, you know, she was just, in the moment the adrenaline was going, because she knows that it doesn't have to be fatal to her anymore, that she kind of just kept going.
Yeah.
But then quite a long time after she'd been shot in the gut, she was still standing there like pretty okay, which does beg the question, you know, has she turned off something in her own body, which, I don't know, like her pain responses or something like that, so that she's kind of immortal now.
I wonder if she's thinking she can do that to all the troops that got gunned down.
I mean, that would definitely be helpful.
Sort of raise them up as an invincible army, and the only way you'd stop them is, like zombies, you'd shoot them in the head, right?
Yeah. And I mean, she has done that with some other hosts as well. Like, you know, she kidnapped that behind-the-scenes worker in the second episode and made him resurrect a Confederado who could then lead him to the others, and she didn't bother, you know, making him all new and healthy and alive again. She was just like, wake him up. And then they already killed even more Confederados after that and did the same thing. So it is kind of like she's building a zombie army. So I don't know whether perhaps killing them and then resurrecting them in that way means that they don't really have their old narratives, so they're easier to control and they're just going to follow her.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. I think there's a lot of holes to do with that sequence, and it was a great episode because of all the stuff that happens at the start with the different park. I mean, that was great.
Wow.
And the stuff that happens at the end where they've clearly wandered into whatever it is, Samurai World. But the action sequence at that fort, it just fell completely flat to me. I think Westworld struggles with action. I think it does great with its sort of tense build-up and tiny little pockets of violence like it did in the first season. But it's really struggling with like bigger set pieces, and this it doesn't feel very, very convincing. You know, because there's no way those guys with those like tiny guns would have sort of just filed up in a line and walked towards the fort.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have just picked them off from a distance and that would have been it.
Yeah.
I mean,
or like brought in helicopters and bombed them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it does. The only thing I would say is that perhaps it's easy to forget, having seen everything we have, that this is still like fairly early days in the revolution within Westworld. So currently it's sort of like it's just whatever security guards are left in Westworld trying to get some kind of control back. it's, at this point, the army hasn't come in. Like Carl Strand, the new character, him and his guys haven't turned up yet.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the tanks and the real forces. So it might just be that the people that were attacking the Dolores and the Confederados in this episode were just working with what they've got, and perhaps even still struggling with the idea that the hosts pose a real threat, because it's still early days and that maybe they haven't seen it for themselves yet.
Possibly, but I mean, whoever's in charge of the strategies are absolute.
Wasn't a great move.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree it definitely wasn't a great move.
So I think, purely brutally, Dolores thinks she's wiped out a certain number of security forces by killing them. I guess that was maybe her aim. And maybe she is building this zombie army. Who knows? It's a very sort of... It wasn't an episode that posed a lot of immediate questions. I mean, obviously, one of the big questions that I have, which we can't really talk about because, I mean, it's an unknowable, is how many other parks there are and how many we're going to see in this season. It was great to see the sort of Indian Raj world where clearly it's all about hunting big game as opposed to waging war and things like that. And obviously the indication is at the end that they've crossed over into Samurai World somehow.
Yeah.
I think that could be enough. In the movie, I know in the original movie they showed off like a Roman world.
Yes.
And there was a nod to the original movie in this one as well, which was when we meet Armistice again and she's flamethrowing that guy in the tunnels. It's very, very reminiscent of the way they set Yul Brynner on fire in the original movie. So I think it was a nod. So who knows? Maybe we'll see something like Roman world, but or maybe they'll just stick to the two settings that they have, or three now.
Yeah. What do you think the Indian style park is going to be called?
I don't know. Like, would they call it like Raj World?
I mean, that would go.
It's a wee bit not okay.
Wee bit not okay. Like, I'm just trying to think because, we all thought that SW was Samurai World and it's actually Shogun World.
Yeah.
So I think probably it's safe to say that we just are not going to know until the showrunners tell us.
Yeah.
But I am quite curious about that, like what that world's called as well.
I mean, maybe they'll call it something like Big Game World and it just happens to be set in India.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay. Thanks for listening and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And for more Westworld coverage, keep it tuned to gamesradar.com.